What if Count Dooku defeated Yoda in Attack of the Clones? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Count Dooku's eyes widen as he sees Yoda hobbling into the room. The Count reaches for some of the machines hanging on the walls and hurls them at him, trying to stop Yoda while he's off guard. But the Jedi Grand Master barely responds, flicking his wrist and catching the machines in midair before tossing them aside. When these attacks fail, Dooku lifts his hands towards the ceiling. It begins to crack as bits of debris fall on the old Jedi. Not even this phases Yoda, who catches them effortlessly and breaks it into rubble. Yoda wastes no time and springs forward, his green lightsaber shining brightly. Dooku meets it with his own, his form perfect as he parries each attack and moves back a step before holding his ground. Instead of pressing the attack, Yoda dives to one side, his lightsaber blocking each attack as he circles the Count, diving between his legs or leaping up to keep him off balance. The size difference is obvious, but in this case, it seems to favor Yoda. His superior agility makes him nearly impossible to hit and forces the Count to strike low and bend down. However, even with this maneuverability, Yoda cannot seem to land a blow. Each time he closes the gap and attacks, Dooku's lightsaber moves faster and blocks the attack. After dodging another counterswing from his crimson lightsaber, Yoda leaps up and attacks again, unleashing a trio of swings aimed at Dooku's head. The Count dodges each one, sidestepping against each attack before his foot catches Yoda in the stomach. Dooku is soon on him and slashes his lightsaber down, but Yoda barely clears the way and looks up at him, worry starting to show. Instead of attacking again, Yoda springs into action. He goes high, clinging to the machines on the walls, and leaping from spot to spot while his lightsaber flashes. This forces Dooku to chase after him and makes him even faster. Each time the Count's lightsaber swings, all he slashes are the empty machinery. Soon the Count is on the defensive as Yoda's attacks come from all angles. As the battle draws on, Dooku realizes he's not in a good position and searches for something to turn the tide. Suddenly he raises his hand and Yoda tenses, but it isn't him Dooku is aiming at. He reaches for a giant conduit and begins snapping it off its handles. The machinery gives way and tumbles straight toward Anakin and Obi-Wan's prone forms. Yoda leaps down and catches the machine. He manages to stop it and begins pushing it aside, but immediately feels a lightsaber run through his back. Dooku stands over his former master, channeling the Force to direct the machinery down and letting it finish the job. The Count takes a moment to survey the destruction left over before departing. Although the Battle of Geonosis is technically a Republic victory, the losses to the Jedi Order are devastating. The Grand Master and many of the best Jedi Masters are just some of the 200 Jedi lost, making it difficult for any of them to consider it a win. This leaves Mace Windu as the head of the Order. The destruction of Geonosis leaves a deep impact on the new Grand Master. As the leader of the strike team, he feels personally responsible for their deaths and sees the destructive power of the CIS firsthand. This leaves him desiring to stop the separatist movement at all costs, both because of the threat it poses to the Republic and to avenge the Order's humiliation. Rather than adopting the more cautious approach of Yoda, Mace's style of leadership reflects his Vapad training. He throws the Jedi into combat, using the fights as a way to unleash their power, letting them see firsthand the destruction of the CIS and using that to channel their power back at the Separatists. This acts as a show of force, reminding the galaxy of their abilities and to help defeat the CIS, fully embracing their role in the war effort. Mace's Shatterpoint ability also reflects his leadership style. He constantly searches for weaknesses or points of interest in the CIS and deploys the Jedi there. He sees them as the spear tip that can break the CIS once they find the Shatterpoint. This strategy is effective, but costly. Many Jedi fall in the first few weeks of the war, being thrown into combat too quickly without time to prepare or adjust to the new dynamic. But those who live end up becoming far more decisive, leading their troops to victory and securing the Republic's foothold in the Outer Rim. However, this also allows them to see the destruction of the CIS firsthand. Everywhere the Separatists go, it is followed by destruction and chaos, as Dooku gives generals like Ventress, Dirge, and Grievous the freedom to spread their reign of chaos across the galaxy and frighten loyalist worlds into submitting to the CIS. But while the Separatists bring destruction and fear, Mace brings justice and strength. He meets these attacks head-on across all sectors. The war becomes far bloodier as Mace is willing to adopt more unconventional tactics, allowing Jedi who show more imagination and aren't as restricted by the Jedi Code to lead the war effort. For many people in the Outer Rim, Mace's success in leading the Jedi helped improve their reputation, showing them as standing up to tyranny across the war-torn worlds. But on worlds facing other issues like poverty, famine, and exploitation, they have different opinions. As Mace focuses the Jedi Order's efforts on the war, their role as peacekeepers is pushed aside, as they rarely partake in relief missions, investigations, or helping local populations. This allows corruption to thrive on these worlds, as no one is left to defend the innocent. Although many Jedi are bothered by this, the Grand Master insists it's a necessary sacrifice, as the Jedi are spread thin, and a few years of hardship are preferable to the chaos that can emerge from allowing the CIS to win the war. This plays right into Dooku's hands, as many see the Jedi losing their way far faster than they could under Yoda. So while the Jedi are capable of holding their own on the battlefield, the Order's core and virtues are slowly chipped away. But this isn't enough to whittle down the Order's support. Dooku knows he must do something big to truly shatter the Jedi's image, and this is where he begins searching for allies. Dooku wants someone who can help undermine the Jedi, and settles on Pre Vizsla. The Mandalorian warrior agrees to a meeting with the Count.
Welcome, Pre Vizsla. I trust your journey was uneventful.
You don't seem like a man who invites guests for pleasantries, Dooku. What's your game?
My intentions are quite simple. You and I have a common enemy, the Republic and the Jedi Order. As we speak, they teeter on the edge of collapse. With your help, we could crush them both.
Vizsla's eyes narrow as he folds his arms. A faint smile plays on his face.
You're right about that. But I wonder what I have to gain from working with you, Dooku. You overplay your strength, because from where I'm standing, the CIS are the ones who are struggling.
I admit, the war is not going well militarily, but the Jedi's strength is an illusion, built upon a shaky foundation. All you must do is chip away at that support. Strike them at their heart and become a thorn in their side to make the people question the Jedi's ability to protect them.
The Mandalorian's eyes light up in the dim room, looking at the Count with renewed interest.
And what do I get in return? Credits? Weapons? We don't serve as mercenaries.
Accomplish this mission, and I offer you Mandalore.
Mandalore, you say? You expect me to believe you just hand over the planet?
Not hand it over. Help you take it. With my support, you could topple Satine's regime and rule Mandalore as it was meant to be ruled. But first, you must weaken the Republic.
No. Mandalore first. I want her head, and I want my people to see that no one, not Satine, not the Republic, can stand against Death Watch.
Conquering Mandalore immediately would be premature. Satine still has the Republic's ear, and the Jedi are far more militarized than they were. If you take Mandalore, it will get the Jedi's attention and force a response. Fighting them in that manner is counterproductive. You'll face them head-on, and they will respond swiftly. Your hold on the planet won't last a month.
All right. I see your point. What do we do instead?
Terrorize their people, disrupt their trade routes, and burn their worlds. Do this, and the Republic will weaken from within. The people will question their ability to govern, and once they are distracted, Mandalore is free for the taking.
Then we have a deal.
For the next few weeks, momentum seems to favor the Jedi as they make headway across all fronts, and Mace commits to the advance, redeploying Jedi to maximize their success. But while they are pushing the CIS back, they begin receiving reports of unrest in the core worlds and Inner Rim. At first, these aren't too bad, with a few raids and terrorist attacks that frighten the population. but the destruction slowly increases as terrorist attacks become more intense. There are kidnappings, bombings, and even occupations on isolated planets. This becomes too big to ignore, and Mace is forced to redeploy the Jedi and clone forces, allowing the CIS to stabilize the front, much to his frustration. They soon identify Death Watch as the perpetrators and begin hunting after them. However, the Mandalorians don't face them as an army, and instead wage a guerrilla war. They move from planet to planet, avoiding the slow armies of the Republic and striking at isolated groups of Jedi. But not all attacks are directed at the Jedi. They also strike at corrupt officials, warlords, and other Republic cronies. This allows for many worlds to begin rebuilding and having a chance to improve their conditions. For war-torn worlds, their designation as terrorists means little, as they are the only people who have helped them. Soon, non-Mandalorian volunteers begin joining them, acting as support and helping stabilize their rule on different planets or providing them with supplies. When the Republic learns about this, they brand these people collaborators and launch a campaign against them too. For Mace, it appears as though the Republic is rotten from within, and that these people are responsible for prolonging the war by allowing Death Watch to survive, so he cracks down hard on dissenters. The clones are sent to this world, arresting anyone considered a collaborator and placing entire planets under martial law. More and more worlds begin to feel oppressed, and reports of this brutality even reach Coruscant, where Death Watch agents begin to rile up the population. They go around the lower districts, places the Jedi once patrolled, and show them that the Jedi have lost their way and are no longer fit to protect them. Instead, he urges them to take matters into their own hands and join Death Watch. Pre Vizsla soon develops an underground cell on Coruscant. One person who is not pleased by this development is Palpatine, who sees the unrest growing in his capital. It is far worse than he expected. While he wanted people to turn against the Jedi, he needed chaos he could control. He orders Mace to root out Death Watch and use whatever means necessary to do it, and secretly sends orders to Dooku to give the Republic some breathing room to recover. At first, things seem to go that way as fighting slackens, and Dooku allows the Republic to make some fresh gains. This frees up troops for Mace to redeploy on Coruscant, alongside the Jedi. At one point, this might have been enough to quell the dissent, but seeing the Jedi accompanied by their clone army only angers the people more. After years of war and hardship, the people are tired. They see the Jedi as out-of-touch puppets for the Senate, and now they think that the Jedi are here to take their freedom. From one of these streets, Pre Vizsla now takes the chance to strike.
Brothers and sisters, for too long we have been oppressed. The Jedi claim to protect us, yet they bring only war. They fight for the Senate, not for us. Today, we take our planet back.
A cheer erupts from the crowd. Civilians armed with blasters, stolen weapons, and makeshift spears surge forward. Death Watch soldiers distribute equipment, reinforcing their growing militia as Coruscant's underworld awakens. The streets turn into chaos. Blaster fire lights up the night as civilians and Death Watch soldiers clash with clone troopers and Jedi. Civilians rally behind Pre Vizsla's call to arms, forming barricades and overtaking military positions. Although the clones are better trained and equipped, the people of Coruscant know the streets far better. They stage ambushes, plant improvised explosives, or simply swarm defensive positions. Rather than a slaughter, the battle becomes a grinding war of attrition. Entire detachments of clones led by Jedi officers are lost trying to hold the line as civilians pour blaster fire or stolen grenades, while Death Watch soldiers swoop in and finish them off. Although they hold for now, it will take time to root out the rebels. Mace Windu stands in front of a large holographic display, his brow furrowed as the reports flood in. Republic forces are overwhelmed, pinned in districts across Coruscant. The tension in the room is palpable, with clone commanders and Jedi Masters awaiting his orders.
General, we're losing ground. They're advancing through the lower sectors.
Deploy reinforcements to the lower levels. Put Master Luminara in charge. We cannot allow Coruscant to fall. Deploy gunships if you must.
His face darkens as he sees all this. He had worked so hard to bring this war to a quick end, to prevent suffering like this. The frustration builds inside the Jedi Master, clawing at him and urging him to retaliate. For now, he keeps that anger in check. Vizsla strides through the battlefield, his dark saber carving through clone troopers as he advances. He rallies the civilians behind him every swing of his blade inspiring more of Coruscant's people to rise. The streets are now war zones, filled with barricades, burning vehicles, and wounded soldiers. Even the elite Jedi Knights cannot match the ferocity of the mob. Though many fall, their numbers overwhelm the Jedi warriors. Vizsla watches this and smiles, launching himself at them. Soon the Jedi are forced to retreat as Death Watch gunships appear over the horizon, carrying troopers to besiege the temple itself. They pour blaster fire in the air, clearing the way for the mob and ground forces to rush forward. Mace Windu watches this and ignites his lightsaber, feeling the blade calling to him. The darkness is practically calling for him to take action, and this time, he allows himself to indulge in it. Leaping into the fray, he lands on one of the Mandalorians zipping by and drives his saber into his jetpack. The Grand Master leaps off and watches as it crashes into the ground in a stunning explosion. While the people are distracted, Mace rushes toward the other Death Watch fighters, letting his lightsaber swing back and forth as he cuts through the elite Mandalorians with ease. The temple guards join him, wading through the advancing foes, and the tide momentarily shifts. But as the Mandalorians fall back, Mace sees the mob advancing with them, trying to shore up their attack. These people were civilians coaxed into rebellion, but they had turned against the Jedi and civilization, and he charged at them just the same, using the Force to throw them back. Vizsla stands on a rooftop, watching as his forces surround the temple. He can see the battle raging and sends a signal to Count Dooku. Without warning, hyperspace lanes tear open, and an armada of Separatist ships emerges above Coruscant. The Separatist fleet wastes no time launching a bombardment on Coruscant's planetary defenses while deploying droid reinforcements. The Republic's orbital fleet scrambles to meet the assault, but they are caught off guard, and many landing ships slip through. Inside one, Dooku leads his troops in person. Although Palpatine had ordered him to slacken his assault, this had given him the chance to consolidate and reorganize the army. More importantly, information he received from Evan Peel about the Nexus route allowed him to bypass most of the Republic's defenses.
Engage all forces. Coruscant will fall today.
The siege of the Jedi Temple reaches a boiling point. Death Watch troops, rioters, and droids deployed pour into the surrounding streets. The temple's defenses struggle to hold as the Jedi and clones are pushed back into the inner sanctum. Although Mace tries to rally his forces, they have no choice but to retreat inside. Before he turns around, he spots a CIS shuttle heading towards the landing pad. Count Dooku steps out, his lightsaber held ready.
Dooku, I should have known you'd show your face here. And yet here we are, just as I predicted, Master Windu. Your Republic crumbles, and your Order is powerless to stop it.
Mace responds by lunging forward and swinging his lightsaber in a broad arc, aiming to take Dooku's head off. The Count sidesteps this attack and points his lightsaber at Mace. The Grand Master responds with a flurry of attacks, letting his anger out through Vapad. But rather than meet his anger, Dooku responds with patience and elegance. He fights defensively at first, letting Mace unleash his anger all at once and tire himself out. Their blades clash in sparks of energy that blind those around him, a circle forming around them as clone and Death Watch fighters watch their duel. Suddenly, Mace thrusts his hand out and throws Dooku back. The Count stumbles, but plunges his lightsaber into the ground to anchor himself. He raises it just in time as Mace leaps at him and blocks his lightsaber. The sheer ferocity forces Dooku to give ground before he manages to redirect the lightsaber away.
Such aggression is unbecoming of a Jedi. Silence. What I have become is only a result of your actions, Dooku. So quick to blame your failings on others. You certainly represent the Order's values.
He ducks under Mace's slash and thrusts his lightsaber forward, grazing Mace's cheek. This further angers the Grand Master, who blocks the subsequent swing and pushes Dooku's lightsaber against the wall. While it's pinned, Mace reaches out to the Force and hurls some debris toward Dooku. The Count can't pull his lightsaber back in time and must dive out of the way, releasing his lightsaber. Mace takes full advantage of this, his lightsaber slashing and swinging at Dooku, who has no choice but to avoid and dodge his attacks. But his age starts to show, and he begins to slow down. Mace sees this and quickens, slamming his knee against him and sending Dooku doubling over. He groans and stumbles. The Grand Master swings his lightsaber down at his head. but the Sith Lord barely catches it with his hands, using the Force to hold it in place. The two are locked in a battle of wills, trying to take control of the lightsabers. This is a battle as Mace closes the distance. Seeing this, Dooku reaches out for the Force, pulls his lightsaber back, and blocks the attack. As he lays on the ground, he tries to throw Mace back with a volley of lightning. This forces the Grand Master back and allows him to rise.
And is this my doing too? You attacking an unarmed man?
Do not act like you are some helpless victim here, Dooku. You made your decisions.
Mace rushes back at him, but Dooku is ready now and spins out of the way, slashing the back of Mace's knee as he moves past.
As you did yours, my friend. As did the people of this war, the people around you, and the Senate. Those have always been there. It is just now that they finally show it. Because the Jedi have allowed corruption to thrive.
He tries to stab at Mace's neck, but the Grand Master is ready and slashes his saber at his waist. Dooku winces, looking down at his injury, and blocks against the follow-up slash. The pair's lightsabers clash once again as they are locked in battle.
And now I fight to the end. To fight for civilization.
No, you fight to ensure the Republic survives. To allow corruption to thrive.
And so the people may live in peace.
What people? Look around you, Mace, and ask yourself. After all this, who will be left?
Mace looks around, surveying the carnage around them. There are certainly many dead Jedi in Death Watch, but for everyone that falls, there are a dozen of regular citizens, many of whom were desperate enough to fight alongside the Mandalorians. Yet, all around them, the battle still rages as clones cut down these people, the same ones they were sworn to protect. Suddenly, the anger Mace was feeling begins to fade, and he feels the dark side influence waning. Dooku takes this opportunity to rise, but rather than strike him down, he raises his lightsaber and holds it ready.
You will die today. But will it be as a free man or a slave to the Republic?
Mace grips his lightsaber tightly, feeling the anger within him fade, replaced by shame as he sees the full extent of destruction left over by his actions. It falls from his grip and drops to the ground, and the Grand Master follows suit, dropping to his knees.
Make the galaxy better than I found it, old friend.
I shall.
Dooku brings his lightsaber down and beheads Mace Windu. As his body drops to the ground, the remaining Jedi surrender. The battle soon shifts in the CIS's favor as their troops overwhelm the remaining Republic troops in the temple. Seeing this, Palpatine has little choice but to escape, retreating to the far corners of the galaxy in hopes of biding his time. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.